Hello, today I'm looking at Majjhima number 101, the Devdaha Sutta, and that's translated as Deva at Devdaha. So the location is Devdaha in the Sakyan country, and the people mentioned are Buddha and the group of monks or bhikkhus whom he is addressing, and the topic is discussing the Nikaya belief system. That's following Nikaya Nataputta. So it starts off with critiquing that sect, and then talking about how to practice the Dhamma, and then comparing it with the Nikaya sect. So it starts with Buddha addressing his followers, saying, "There are some recluses and Brahmins that hold the view that whatever a person feels, it is caused by past actions. But by means of asceticism, past actions can be annihilated, and by doing no fresh actions, there will be no consequences in the future. So, with the destruction of action, there is the destruction of suffering. With that, there is the destruction of feeling, and with the destruction of feeling, all suffering will be exhausted." So says the Nikayas. There then follows quite an explicit argument about this, taking as an example a man being shot by a poisoned arrow and suffering great pain, but being cured by a skilled surgeon, medicines, and kinsman until he has regained health and happiness. Now, Buddha says this can happen, but in the case of the Nikaya belief system, they do not know for sure if they existed in the past, suffered in the past, do not know what the abandoning of unwholesome states is. So how can Nikayas declare all suffering will be exhausted? To which, when put to the Nikayas, they replied that their leader, Nikaya Nataputta, is omniscient, all-seeing, and has complete knowledge. And this is what he states about past actions, how they can be overcome with austerities of body, speech, and mind in the here and now. So there will be no consequence in the future, and all suffering will be exhausted. Buddha's response was to say, there are 5 things that affect us in the here and now: faith, approval, oral tradition, reasoned thinking, and reflective acceptance of view. And Buddha states that he does not see any of this being followed by the Nikayas. It is also odd that Nikayas feel pain after intense exertion, but feel no pain after no exertion, yet claim that regardless of pain or no pain, it is all caused by past actions, and that by asceticism, in the here and now, all suffering will be exhausted. So maybe a person has painful, racking feelings, regardless of exertion. It may be fitting to say that all suffering could be exhausted. But since the case is painful feelings only occur due to intense exertion, you are therefore experiencing painful feelings due to your own self-imposed exertion. And it is through ignorance and delusion that you carry out asceticism in the here and now, believing that this will lead to all suffering being exhausted. And Nikayas, is it possible that an action here and now gives a result in the next life? Buddha continues to question the Nikaya logic and summarizes his criticism of their belief system as follows. If the pleasure and pain that beings feel is caused by what was done in the past, then the Nikayas surely must have done bad deeds in the past, since they now feel such painful, piercing feelings. If the pleasure and pain that beings feel are caused by a supreme God, then that supreme God must be evil to cause such painful, piercing feelings. If the pleasure and pain that beings feel are caused by circumstances and nature, then the Niganthas surely must have bad luck, since they now feel such painful, piercing feelings. If the pleasure and pain that beings feel are caused by class, that's what the class they're born into, then the Niganthas must belong to a bad class, since they now feel such painful, piercing feelings. If the Niganthas feel painful, racking feelings in the here and now, then they must be striving badly. And the Niganthas should be censured for believing pleasure and pain here and now is caused by what was done in the past. Also censured if the pleasure and pain are caused by a supreme God, if caused by chance, if caused by class, if caused by exertion. All of this shows their exertions and strivings is fruitless. So, Buddha continues, how can it be fruitful, this exertion and striving? And he says, where a bhikkhu does not overwhelm himself with suffering and does not give up pleasure that fits in with the Dhamma, and yet is not infatuated with that pleasure, all forms of suffering fade away by striving and developing equanimity, so suffering is exhausted. And it then goes on to talk about abandoning sensual desire and lust, and says, strive to overcome unwholesome states. So this is agreeing with the other sects' beliefs. So strive to overcome unwholesome states, even if painful. But once the unwholesome state is overcome, do not continue that painful exertion and striving. So that's really the key differential, I suppose, is that the Jainism is seen to be a continuous exertion and striving, that in the Buddhist belief system it's only there to be used for overcoming a particular unwholesome state. And he gives an analogy of just like a piece of metal can be forged into an arrowhead, but once an arrowhead is formed, it does not need to be forged again and again and again. And then Buddha then goes on to describe overcoming the 5 hindrances and entering the jhana states and going on through to Nibbana. And this was also in the previous sutta and Sutta 51. And by way of summary, Buddha compares this with the beliefs of the Niganthas. If the pleasure and pain that beings feel are caused by what was done in the past, then a Tathagata surely must have done good deeds in the past, since he now feels taintless, pleasant feelings. If the pleasure and pain that beings feel are caused by a supreme God, then the Tathagata must have been created by a good supreme God, since he now feels such taintless, pleasant feeling. If caused by circumstances and nature, then the Tathagata must have had good luck. If caused by class, then the Tathagata must belong to a good class, since he now feels such taintless, pleasant feelings. That the Tathagata must have strived well, that the Tathagata is to be praised regardless of the past, or whether it was the act of a supreme God or caused by chance, by class, by exertion. This is what the Blessed One said, and the bhikkhus, monks, were satisfied and delighted with the words. And that's the end of Majjhima number 101, the Devdaha Sutta. Thanks for watching.